In the spirit of Scream Fortress, I would like to tell you today a truly spooky tale. And this is a murder mystery. A murder that occurred in the July of 2016 that is still not yet solved to this day. Of course, I am talking about the murder of Quickplay that occurred in the July of 2016 when a system that we had for years was destroyed without warning and replaced by an utter piece of fucking shit. I'm not going to get into too much detail on the specifics of Quickplay and the changes that were introduced with casual matchmaking, because I've discussed that at length already in previous videos. The very short version is that casual matchmaking, the supposed upgrade to Quickplay, removed or broke certain features that have been in the game since the start, made the matchmaking slower, removed control from the player by removing manual connections to Valve servers, killed community servers, and gave us 7 years of bots. That's the very short version of it. But today I'm more interested in looking at not what changed after Quickplay was killed, because I've already talked about it. Today, I'm interested in thinking about who killed Quickplay in the first place. Well, we can theorize about that. In fact, there already is a theory going around about who exactly is responsible for Meet Your Match, and in turn, the murder of Quickplay. But before we get into it, as usual, I would like to recommend to everybody to join Castaway.tf, which is the best fucking TF2 server of all time. Runs the pre-Meet Your Match Quickplay rule set. There's a Steam group, there's a website, and there's a schedule that we try to stick to, and we try to fill up the server every day. So by all means, join and help us out. With that said, let's try and piece together this murder. A month before Meet Your Match went live, some guy on FaceBunch infamously proclaimed that the next TF2 update is going to be neato. As it turned out, this was actually a Valve employee that was working on Meet Your Match, going by the moniker of Jill. So you might have seen comments saying that Meet Your Match was the neato update, or when the game is breaking and TF2 isn't working, someone's going to say, wow, that's neato. Well, that's a reference to this guy's post. It's quite comical when you think about it. You have Valve, the company that is notorious for being completely radio silent on all of their developments, breaks the silence prematurely, just once. And it's some fucking clown saying that the update that will go down as the single most disastrous fucking patch in TF2's entire history is going to be quote-unquote neato. Not cool. Not good. Neato. Amazing. But anyway, you have this premature ejaculation on Jill's part. And, this is the reason why people point the finger at him when it comes to Meet Your Match and its consequences. So let's talk a little bit about Jill. What do we know about him? Okay, let me start by showing you a screenshot of Jill in a TF2 server. And this is a picture worth 1,000 words right here. I'm on team no crits already, said Jill in 2016. Okay, what's important here isn't that he's an anti-crit pinko fucking animal, but the way he phrases it is what's important here. He's already on team no crits, as in he's been playing the game for 2 hours and he's already crying about an integral gameplay feature. So this guy is someone with barely any experience in the game whatsoever. At least that's the way I interpret it. And he's working on a mandatory matchmaking system that is going to replace a system that's worked for years. I mean, that just about says it all, doesn't it? Who could have predicted that a guy that doesn't even play or understand the game isn't capable of creating a system that adequately accommodates the needs of TF2? Who could have predicted that shit? I mean, yeah, to a guy that has no idea of how TF2 plays, putting in a round limit into casual makes perfect sense. Another thing about Jill that you ought to know is that he's a staunch and active Redditor. Here, listen to this classic Reddit post from Jill.
I found a matchmaker curled up in a ball in the back. I gave it a pep talk and some coffee. Seems better now.
Okay, so you have a guy that makes the valid complaint that the casual matchmaking system of Team Fortress 2 is a broken piece of shit and doesn't work, and you have Jill, TF2's most neato developer, coming in and giving him, fittingly, the most Reddit answer possible, making some bizarre, like, Marvel quip. My favorite part of this is this guy's response, where he's just completely unamused. And it's just like, okay, haha, funny asshole, bring back Quickplay already. Like, come on. And his name is True TF2. It's like poetry. Now, there's a very important point to be made here. Forget the fact that the guy largely responsible for this piece of shit matchmaking system that this game has been forced into for 8 years is a cringeworthy Redditor. Forget that. But think about the fact that it's been 8 years since casual was added, and you still have issues where the matchmaking just doesn't fucking work. Sometimes you're stuck in queue forever. Sometimes every time you press the queue button, you get dropped out of the queue for no comprehensible reason. You just can't find a match. The casual matchmaking system that has been broken on launch still regularly breaks to this day after 8 fucking years. Now, what would happen, if matchmaking wasn't working in the quick play era for you? What would have happened then? I can't recall an instance where it didn't work, but if there was such an occasion, you could very simply bypass the non-functioning matchmaking completely, go into the server browser, and manually join an official Valve server through there. When we had quick play, not only did we have an objectively better matchmaking system, we also had a failsafe by which we had the option to avoid using that matchmaking system altogether. And if the matchmaking doesn't work today, well, you don't have that option anymore. And you're just completely fucked because it's mandatory. And now you're going to have this fucking guy go on Reddit joking about how he's given a pep talk to the matchmaking system that you have to fucking use that doesn't work. He's given it a pep talk. He's given it some coffee. Isn't that funny? Isn't it funny that you're held hostage by this fucking piece of shit? How very neato. Hey, here's a fun fact for you. Jill and Robin Walker are not friends on Steam. Like, I just think this is interesting. You can look up Jill's friends list. It's public. Jill has fucking Uncle Dane on his friends list. He has B. Forney on his friends list. But Robin Walker just ain't there. Just makes you think. That's all I'm saying. Food for thought. Anyway, that's Jill for you. So we know that he's kind of a knucklehead, and we know that he worked on TF2 during the Meet Your Match period. He worked on the game around 2016, 2017, Meet Your Match Jungle Inferno. He was present there, and that's what he did before moving on to something else. Now, just from these few pieces of information, can we say that Jill killed Quickplay? Now, we can say that he worked on the game during Meet Your Match's development. We can say that he very likely worked on casual matchmaking. We could say all of that, and I'm not denying that. But I'm just not buying that Jill and Jill alone just came in and did all of this. This is the lone gunman theory. It's very comforting to think that when something terrible happens, you can just blame everything on some random nut job. But I don't buy it. When Jill was working on Meet Your Match, he was still relatively fresh at Valve. He was a new hire. He was fresh meat. He couldn't just bust in there and start barking orders and start some sort of fucking revolution when it comes to one of the company's flagship titles. So I'm not denying the fact that Jill worked on Meet Your Match. I'm not denying the fact that he very likely worked on casual matchmaking. I'm not denying the fact that he's a terrible developer. He possibly very much is. I'm not denying the fact that he's a Redditor. I'm not denying the fact that he's an idiot. And I'm not denying the fact that he's a horse fucker. These are all known facts. But I simply do not buy into the idea that Jill and Jill alone is responsible for the death of quick play. And, for the death of the game, if we're really being honest. Like Jill just came into the Valve offices one day and said, you know what? I'm just going to fuck TF2 up. That's not how it works. Meet Your Match was a massive turning point for TF2, and it was supposed to be the beginning of a massive transition for the game. You couldn't be some random new employee, and even dream of attempting something of this magnitude of your own volition. This was a decision of about the same importance as making the game free to play was in 2011. This was absolutely something that was discussed, approved, and ordered from upstairs, the highest level of the fucking company. My interpretation of Meet Your Match is simple. It was supposed to be, in the eyes of the people envisioning it, it was supposed to be the beginning of a competitivization process as far as TF2 is concerned, because Valve saw firsthand there's a lot of money to be made with esports. They witnessed that with CSGO, with Dota, and on top of that, right before Meet Your Match comes out, Overwatch releases. And Overwatch, it was built from the ground up as a fucking esports title. And it was also, for some fucking reason, touted as a spiritual successor to TF2 and was a massive success. Valve thought that this was the signal that, hey, look, TF2 can and should be competitivized. And then they released Meet Your Match, not only with a competitive ladder, but with a rushed, casual matchmaking system that was supposed to be much more competitivized than Quickplay, in the hopes that TF2 could be turned into a more competitive game. And ultimately, the final goal is to make it an esports cash cow like Overwatch, at least seemed to be in the beginning. I would now like to bring in another piece of evidence into the courtroom that I think is very, very important. I would like to point now to an interview with D.Riller, a member of the TF2 dev team that has worked on the game since the beginning. And he gave this interview after Meet Your Match, but before Jungle Inferno in 2017. And I've said this before, that Meet Your Match and Jungle Inferno are following the same exact principles, the same exact direction of trying to competitivize the game. And I said that Meet Your Match and Jungle Inferno, they're basically parts 1 and 2 of the same idea. Meet Your Match applied competitivization principles with the casual and the competitive matchmaking systems that were forced into the game. And of course, they killed Quickplay with Meet Your Match. But the same direction that, flows from Meet Your Match was followed and pursued from a game balancing standpoint in Jungle Inferno. And it's funny, like I said in my Jungle Inferno video that Valve obviously consulted competitive players over balancing. That's why a bunch of them got invites to visit the fucking offices. Well, hey, you don't have to take my word for it. Just take a listen to good old fucking D.Riller.
We're also doing a bunch of broad game balancing work. So looking at a bunch of the weapons that the competitive players have given us feedback on specifically. In this case, we want to start to look at the game a little more closely at the high level in terms of balance too, in addition to what we see in casual modes. TF's been around long enough that we used to sort of regard casual and competitive as separate communities.
Right.
And now we view that as outdated, and we instead want to think of our player base as a single community with a spectrum of players. So part of that is fixing some of the things that serve as sort of a barrier between those groups. One example would be the competitive players have on their own sort of created this other version of the game with different rules, and they'll restrict things like classes, and they'll ban most of the weapons. And so we'd like to fix that by finding sort of a common ground between the communities. And so some of the work that we've done recently, for example, to do that is we've put in an official competitive matchmaking mode. And what we've done is we've tried to find sort of a common ground format that is familiar to competitive players and casual players so that there's sort of a bridge between the two. There's a lot more work we want to do there, but what we're basically working toward is trying to have that one audience that we're really serving.
Well, those are the most important points. And let me just say, of course, I will link the video in the description, but I suggest that you don't watch it. You really don't need to. You heard everything that you need to hear. And if you do, please, for the love of God, turn on sponsor block and ad block. Because Tyler McVicker, on top of being a fucking disgusting, lying piece of shit, fraud, snake oil salesman, is also a greedy motherfucker. and half of this fucking interview is just him talking about his like CSGO scam site sponsor. So please, do not give this guy a cent. So, okay, now that you've heard out of the horse's mouth all of this shit where he blatantly just tells you that we're trying to bridge the gap and we are going to consult competitive players for balancing decisions, and we're trying to turn the competitive TF2 community and the casual TF2 community into one big community. We're trying to desegregate or whatever the fuck. He told you that. And this interview, everything this guy says sounds absolutely insane. And it confirms all of my suspicions that I had about Meet Your Match in Jungle Inferno. And you have confirmation that TF2 was actually killed because they were trying to make it into a competitive game. That's what they were trying to do. And that's why this game has been fucked for the past 8 years. And the really depressing part is that this isn't some random intern talking about this. This isn't Jill talking about this. And this confirms that the lone gunman theory is just bullshit. This is D.Riller. This is the guy that's been working on the game since the beginning. So the main takeaway from this is that Jungle Inferno is a continuation of Meet Your Match. And Meet Your Match is the update that killed Quickplay. And the people that worked on Jungle Inferno, including D.Riller, one of the OGs, probably worked on Meet Your Match as well. And probably directly contributed to the death of Quickplay and to the introduction of casual matchmaking. Okay, so let me just say that everything that D.Riller says in this interview about trying to bridge the gap is complete insanity, and the fact that this was a serious direction in which the TF2 dev team was heading in 2016 and 2017 is the reason why this game was fucking ruined and is still ruined to this day. But on the other hand, let me say that this guy has done fantastic work, and he's worked on this game since the beginning. He fucking worked on Gravel Pit, Granary, Hydro, fantastic maps. I mean, this guy's done excellent work for TF2. And somehow in 2017, he goes out and does this shit. And I don't believe that this was D.Riller's idea. I said before that I don't think Jill did all of this. Like some random fucking new hire came in and just decided he's going to fucking change TF2's entire direction. I don't think D.Riller came up with this either. He's the guy communicating this in this interview. He's the guy telling you about it. But the thing that I note in this interview is that D.Riller does not seem like he has any enthusiasm whatsoever for anything that he's saying. To me, he seems like he's probably been forced to work on this. Maybe not against his will. I'm sure he didn't have a gun pointed at his head, and I'm sure it's not Jill that forced him to do this. But it really seems to me like this is not something that he has any belief in or any passion for. It seems like he has marching orders to go out there and bridge the gap between the competitive and casual communities of TF2. But, he doesn't believe in that idea whatsoever. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's just upset because he has to talk to fucking Tyler McQuicker. He has to fucking talk to this clown. He probably doesn't want to. Maybe that's why he sounds so miserable. And there could be a million reasons. Maybe he's tired from work. Maybe his wife's not fucking him anymore. Maybe. But to me, it really just does seem like this guy does not care for this nonsensical idea of competitivizing the game, even though he is working on it. But what we could say with absolute certainty is that TF2 died precisely because of this philosophy, this idea of bridging the gap, trying to competitivize the game. TF2 had to be killed for this idea to come into fruition. It just had to happen. And the guy who came up with that idea, the guy who gave the orders to implement that idea, he is responsible for killing the game. Okay, so I think that the order to competitivize TF2 was given by none other than Gabe Newell. And I have a theory here, so you're just going to have to bear with me for a second as I explain it. Okay, so take a look at this timeline right here. You have Dota 2, you have Meet Your Match, you have Artifact, and you have CS2. And I'm going to try to put this into a context so these are all connected games/events. Let me just show you an excerpt from an interview with Gabe Newell in 2006.
And when I look at what I need to compete with, right, the most interesting game property right now is World of Warcraft. Huge retail sales and huge recurring revenue. And not only that, but they have a great experience wrapped around it. So when I look at like sort of what a platform needs to help a software developer do right now, it's figure out how to beat World of Warcraft.
So there you go. In 2006, Gabe Newell was telling you how he doesn't care about what Microsoft's doing. He doesn't care about the PlayStation. All of that shit's irrelevant. The only thing that he's really interested in, and the only company that Valve is really competing with is Blizzard. Like, that's basically what he says in 2006. Okay, now with that information, let's go back to the timeline. So you have Dota 2 in 2013. Now, you probably already know where I'm going with this, but in case you don't know, let me explain to you really quickly the basic history of Dota. Dota 2 is, of course, the sequel to Dota 1, and Dota 1 was a mod for Warcraft 3, which is, of course, a Blizzard game. You have a situation here where you have a Blizzard game that has a mod that Valve acquires the copyrights to and hires the guy who made that mod, and then later on they make a very, very successful game. Okay, so that's the beginning of the timeline. After that, you have Meet Your Match. Let's skip that really quickly. We're going to end with that. Let's go straight to Artifact now, in 2018. And of course, Artifact. I don't even need to get into this. You already know it. It's the Dota card game. It's one of the greatest games of all time. This is the best thing that Valve has done, not just in the past decade, but in their entire history. They haven't made a game as great as Artifact before. They will never make a game as great as Artifact afterwards. It's just, this is the peak. This is the pinnacle of online multiplayer card game action, baby. But the thing that I want to mention about Artifact is that, very obviously, everybody knows this shit, you know, it was an attempt at Valve at trying to recapture the success of Hearthstone. Like, they thought they could pull that off. Oh, this is the future. Fucking card games are the future because Hearthstone managed to sell pretty well and they're making some money from this. Oh, we gotta fucking copy this and we gotta release it 4 years late. And then we gotta wonder why it goes to shit. You know, it's just, it's very bizarre. But you can see the difference here from Dota 2. As Dota 2 was a massive success in which, you know, aping off Blizzard sort of really paid off, Artifact is basically the polar opposite. But they come from the same root of Valve obviously paying attention to what Blizzard is doing. But, you know, the root is the same. Valve is trying to rip off Blizzard with both Dota 2 and with Artifact. It's just that one paid off and one didn't. And now we have the end of the timeline with Counter-Strike 2 in 2023. Now, the situation here is that Valve isn't ripping off a specific game with CS2 that Blizzard made, but they're ripping off a business practice that Blizzard basically pioneered, as far as I can tell. Of course, I'm talking about the fact that when CS2 came out, it killed CSGO. So, you know, normally what happened in the good old days is when you released a sequel to a game, you had two games. Now, with CS2, you don't get that anymore. CSGO is not a separate game. It's just dead, it's delisted, it's completely destroyed and killed. And, of course, where did they get this idea? Where did Valve get the idea to kill their old game when they release a sequel to it? Blizzard, because that's what they did with Overwatch and Overwatch 2. And as far as I can tell, you know, Blizzard really did pioneer this. You know, I don't know about any like Chinese like fucking scam gotcha bullshit. Maybe they do this shit. Maybe that's standard practice over there. But as far as the mainstream Western video game market goes, I have not seen this situation where you have a sequel kill an old game before Blizzard did that with Overwatch. And it's very safe to assume that Valve ripped this idea off from Blizzard. So yeah, the reason why you can't play CSGO, despite the fact that it's objectively a better game than CS2, is because some fat fucking idiot is obsessed with Blizzard and has been obsessed for 2 decades and is copying their fucking terrible, unethical, bullshit business practices, which just, just killing games very casually and getting away with it. So with this timeline, you have a 10-year period where for a decade straight, repeatedly, Valve time and time again goes out there and rips off and copies Blizzard to varying degrees of success. And of course, the most successful of these ripoffs is Dota 2, the beginning. They got lucky at the start, and they really made a lot of money with Dota 2, and then they thought, shit, this is a good idea. Let's keep doing this for a decade straight. Let's just keep aping Blizzard, and we're just going to keep hitting fucking home runs. And unfortunately for them, every time they tried that after Dota ended up in fucking disaster. Dota 2 succeeded because Valve acquired a mod. They acquired the rights to the name of a mod, and then they hired the people that made it, and then they made a full-fledged game that ended up a success. That's what they've been doing since the beginning. And, they've been doing it very well. And every Counter-Strike and Team Fortress player knows what I'm talking about. And Dota 2 is, of course, the only actual success story in this entire timeline. Out of these 4 situations, the first one, Dota, is the only one that works because it's Valve going into an untapped market. It's taking a mod that has some potential but isn't, being fledged out by anyone else. Valve steps in and they fledge out that concept and they make a game and it works, right? And with every other situation on this timeline, you just have Blizzard, a big company doing something, and then Valve just blatantly rips them off and just expects that it's going to work. And now we go back to Meet Your Match. 2016, middle of the timeline, right there. You have a situation where Overwatch comes out in 2016, and then a few months later, Valve comes out with the Meet Your Match update for TF2. Now, if you want to believe that's a coincidence, if you want to believe that this is all incidental, in that case, you need some fucking glasses. And of course, this was one of my main points in my Bring Back Quickplay video. Meet Your Match, I believed then, I still believe today, and I will always believe, is a reaction to Overwatch. And casual matchmaking was made and destroyed Quickplay because of Overwatch. More specifically, because Gabe Newell saw that Overwatch was coming out, and as always, he has some sort of fucking boner for Blizzard, and he's like, well, shit, this is going to be the future. We can't be left behind here. We got to do the exact same thing that they're doing, and it's going to go great. So the thing that I wanted to show you with this timeline is I tried to put it into perspective, and I tried to show you that Meet Your Match is not an anomaly as far as Valve is concerned. And it really just fits into a routine of Valve doing the same stupid shit for the past decade. Not just with TF2, but in general, with their game practices in general. For the past 10 years, they have been doing stupid shit because someone else is doing that stupid shit. So yeah, as I've said before, I am 100% fucking sure that Meet Your Match is Valve's response to Overwatch. Misguided, ridiculous, retarded, disastrous response, but a response nonetheless. And you cannot fucking deny this if you have your eyes open. Okay, so now we go back to the question of who killed Quickplay. Who do you think for the past 10 years straight has been making these decisions to rip off Blizzard? Do you think it's fucking Jill? The guy who wasn't even working at the company in 2013? Do you think it's D.Riller? Do you think it's just some random coders, software engineers, or, map designers that are doing this shit? Or maybe it's the fucking guy who in 2006 already said that Valve is only really competing with Blizzard. To me, someone like Jill who gets a lot of the blame from some people. People like D.Riller, whoever worked on Meet Your Match and Jungle Inferno. These are just the fucking boots on the ground. They're the people who were assigned to work on these updates. They were told to do this. They were just following orders. They can use the Nuremberg defense. And in my opinion, they actually only have minor culpability. At the end of the day, the guy who actually made the decision to go with this, who gave the order, that is the guy who actually deserves the blame. And that is why I think that answering the question of who killed Quickplay, the most obvious answer, the most realistic answer is Gabe Newell. So look at it from the perspective of war crimes, right? Because basically what happened at TF2 is a fucking war crime. It's a crime against humanity, what they did to this fucking game. But, when you have a war crime, you have a war, you have your standard, war criminals that are on the ground, raping, burning down villages, all that good shit. But the worst crime of all, the supreme war crime, is the initiation of the war to begin with. That is the war crime that trumps all the other war crimes. So, you can blame Jill all you want, but at the end of the day, the guy who started this process, who gave the order to begin this, that is the ultimate fucking crime right there. That is ultimately where the most blame lies. So I think the story of Meet Your Match, of Jungle Inferno, of casual matchmaking, and of the death of Quickplay, I think that story begins. Its genesis is Gabe Newell giving basically an imperial order in which TF2 has to be competitivized. Okay, so here's how I think this went down. It's 2016, right? Gabe Newell's sitting in his office and he's jerking it to Widowmaker's fat ass. And he's like, wow, wow, this is epic. This is incredible. This Overwatch game is going to be the future. These Blizzard guys really have it all figured out. We got to follow their example. Guys, Overwatch is fucking epic. I want you to make TF2 more like Overwatch. I want you to make TF2 fucking esports ready in the next 2 years. We got to compete with Overwatch. Haven't you heard? It's the spiritual successor to TF2. We can't get left behind here. We have to put TF2 into the new century. It needs to be following the modern standard, which means, just like Overwatch, we need a fucking terrible mandatory matchmaking system that is going to bridge the gap between the casual and the competitive communities, and we're going to make TF2 esports ready. Do it. Make it happen. So yeah, I think this is what happened. I think Gabe Newell gave the order. He made the decision. And, he has some sort of strange fascination with Blizzard, very obviously, as the record shows. He has some sort of strange fascination with fucking MOBAs, again, because what game is Gabe Newell going to make a fucking personal appearance in? Is he going to show up in a TF2 casual matchmaking server? No. Is he going to show up on a fucking Counter-Strike tournament? No. But Dota 2, oh, he's going to go out there, he's going to make a fucking personal appearance, and he's going to show up, because that to him, like that's the only fucking game he gives a shit about. That's the only genre he gives a fuck about, which is why he's making another fucking MOBA. So yeah, good old Gabe is obsessed with MOBAs. He's obsessed with Blizzard, and then you have a combination of the two with fucking Overwatch, and people are calling it a fucking spiritual successor to TF2. Spoiler alert, it fucking isn't. It has nothing to do with TF2. But the gears in Gaben's head fucking click. These Overwatch guys are putting in fucking 200 million in their esports scene. I'm sure that's gonna be a hit. Yeah, spoiler alert. It fucking isn't. It fails miserably, but he doesn't know that, of course. And, slowly but surely, you come to a situation where TF2 is on a course to be competitivized. Because, that's just what happened. And again, is the timing a coincidence? Is the fact that Overwatch came out a month before Meet Your Match a coincidence? I don't know, man. You tell me. Maybe I'm just fucking schizophrenic. I'm seeing fucking connections where there aren't any. Really. So yeah, I think Gaben gave the order. He called up the boys. He called up a fucking boardroom meeting or whatever the fuck, and he was like, "Okay, this is the direction that TF2 has to go in. You have to competitivize this game. I want it to be fucking esports ready. We got to compete with Overwatch because Overwatch is the future because Blizzard's just so fucking smart. I mean, really, really, like we can't be left behind here." And he calls up a bunch of people and he lays it down. And I think that a lot of people from the old TF2 dev team had zero fucking interest in this. And, you had like one or two guys like D.Riller that were like, okay, we'll do our best. But, I doubt they were very receptive to it. Probably not. But, like, what are you going to do? You're going to fucking defy the orders from the fucking god, Gabe Newell? No. Like, there's. Don't fucking mention the flat company structure bullshit to me. Again, Gaben is fucking God at Valve. If he wants to do something, it's going to be fucking done. And, I think the fact that a lot of the old TF2 guys didn't like this and, didn't have a lot of enthusiasm for this idea, I think that's the reason why you had to bring in fucking new hires like Jill to make them work on this fucking piece of shit. Because, a lot of the old guys just were not interested and they're not going to touch it. Because if you have some seniority at the company, you can probably say that you don't want to work on something. And the TF2 dev team has been evaporating into different projects since somewhere around 2014. And I think that's why you needed to fucking get someone like Jill to work on Meet Your Match, because a lot of the old guard was not receptive. They weren't interested. So you get this new hire and you make them do the work. And who knows? Maybe fucking Jill made casual matchmaking single-handedly in like a week. Maybe that's what happened, and that's why it's so fucked. Maybe. We don't know. But, I mean, it's a possibility. The system is so fucking broken still to this day that, it is definitely possible. And I'm sure that people like Jill, like inexperienced people who don't have any fucking idea about what TF2 even is, working on Meet Your Match and working on something like casual matchmaking, I'm sure that didn't help. But at the end of the day, the root of the problem is that someone who doesn't understand TF2 at all and someone who's completely fucking lost it, Gabe Newell, giving the order to try and pull off something like this massive fucking ridiculous ass revolutionary transformation. At the end of the day, that is where the true issue lies. And speaking about people that don't know what they're doing, we have to ask the very natural question of where in the hell is Robin Walker? Where is our founding father? Where is our fucking George Washington? Where is he? Where's he gone? Because you have these fucking clowns that have no idea of what TF2 even is, ruining the game, and then you gotta ask, why isn't Robin Walker stopping all this? Why didn't Robin Walker come in there and fix everything? I mean, that is a good question. I had some total fucking dipshit tell me that Robin Walker worked on Jungle Inferno and he was completely supportive of all the fucking bullshit ass changes that murder all the unlocks in this fucking game. Somebody actually told me that. Fucking dumbass. And, like, you have zero fucking basis to say that shit. Robin Walker has quit development for TF2 somewhere around 2014. And, any interview that you look up with when Robin Walker is present, it's going to be like Half-Life related. It has nothing to do with TF2 because he has not been working on the game for a fucking decade by now. And let me say, like, that is the issue. Exactly when Robin Walker stops working on the game and you have the old guard evaporating and leaving, that's when the game starts going to shit. And let me ask you a question. Does Robin Walker not have the right to stop working on the game? Because let me tell you something. If Valve stopped working on the game in 2014, we would be perfectly fucking fine. We would have quick play. We wouldn't have a bunch of fucking... We wouldn't have 90% of our unlocks be complete fucking shit that is useless. None of that would have happened. Robin Walker, when Robin Walker quit working on the game, far as he was concerned, TF2 was complete. It was in a really fucking good spot when he left. The issue with TF2 isn't that Valve abandoned it. No, the issue is that they fucking ruined the game and then they abandoned it. And it's not fucking Robin Walker's fault that as soon as he leaves, everything falls to shit, and the people that were fucking replacing him just fucking ruined everything, and that nobody has the vision that he had for this game. That's not his fault. That man is a fucking god amongst men, and I don't want to hear any besmirching of his name. None of this Jungle Inferno meet your match competitivization bullshit would have been possible under his leadership. He created Team Fortress is what he did. And in this house, Robin Walker is a hero. End of fucking story. No, but really, when Robin Walker left this game, when the old guard of the TF2 dev team left this game and they went on, to work on different projects, as far as they're concerned, this game was already finished. TF2 was in a fucking grand spot in 2014. If they didn't touch this game, if Valve did not do any fucking big drastic changes like the fucking ones you saw in Meet Your Match and Jungle Inferno, we would have zero issue. And all Gabe had to do was sit there and just let it be. And you want to add in a bunch of useless cosmetic bullshit, by all means add it in, make your money, but don't touch the fucking foundation of the fucking game. Don't fucking touch the systems that are now fucking perfectly functional and replace them with a bunch of bullshit. Don't ruin the game's balancing for no reason. Don't try to turn the game into something that it's not. But no, you couldn't fucking do it. You couldn't just sit there, take your fucking money, and be a happy fucking camper. No, you had to fucking get in there and fucking ruin everything. You fat fuck. But seriously, nobody has any right to blame Robin Walker for the fact that somebody else ruined the game and he didn't stop them. Like, maybe he couldn't stop them. Like, who knows? We don't know shit about what went down behind the scenes when, the decision for all of this was made. Maybe Robin Walker openly protested when he heard that, TF2 was going to be competitivized. Maybe he told Gaben to go fuck himself. Oi, this is a load of shit. You know that, cunt. But even if that happened, and even if Robin Walker didn't like the direction that TF2 was taken in, he couldn't do shit. Because at the end of the day, Team Fortress 2, unfortunately, does not belong to him, the fucking creator of the game. Team Fortress 2 belongs to Valve. And it belongs to the boss of Valve. Gabe Newell is the boss of this fucking family. He sings the tune, everybody else has to dance to it. But I still have a hope that one day Robin Walker will return with the fucking mandate of heaven, and he is going to usher us into a new golden age. He is going to fix all of this bullshit. He's going to bring Quickplay back. He's going to revert Meet Your Match, revert Jungle Inferno, and we're going to have a new fucking golden age. It's going to happen. It's going to fucking happen. Hey, TF2. TF2 was in development for 9 years. We all know that fucking quote. Oh, after 9 years of development, hopefully it will have been worth the wait. Hey, imagine if after 9 years of casual matchmaking, Robin Walker returns to us once again, brings back Quickplay, reverts Jungle Inferno, and we're fucking back. TF2 is fucking back. Can you imagine the comeback of the fucking century? The return of the fucking king! Yeah, 9 years of development, all that bullshit they had to deal with. They had to make the game, remake the game, and in the end, they fucking came out with a masterpiece. And now you have 9 years of this fucking meet your match, casual matchmaking bullshit. And after all this cancer, we come out, and a masterpiece is ushered in again. Again, 9 years, that's the magical number, baby. Yeah, I know. It sounds like a bunch of fucking cope. But, I need this cope. I need it. Because if I lose it, I'm going to fucking lose it. I'm telling you right now, if I still have to deal with casual fucking matchmaking a year from now, I'm going to go fucking mental.
Oh, this fucking shit. What's the point? I can't take it anymore.
Anyway, that's it from me. Except once again, I'm reminding you to join castaway.tf. As we await the return of our Lord and Savior, Robin Walker, the best thing we can do is to play on this server with the quick play rule set. If we want to play TF2 the way it was meant to be played, we got to play on these servers. So by all means, favorite the servers, join the Steam group, join the Steam group chat, and we announce our sessions when we try to fill up the server every fucking day. We'll say a couple of prayers for the return of our Savior, and we'll make this game great again. It's gonna fucking happen.
I'm Pajit, don't forget not to
Have a nice trip.
You are not white.
Fuck.
Oh, I'm happy that you accepted your identity as a Vegeta and you're proud of it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna accept it at this point because people aren't gonna stop calling me a
Very wholesome.
Dolce, Gabe Newell.
I'm Gabe Newell. I'm kind of retarded and autistic.